Hello, in this session I would like to discuss about soldering and brazing. So this is Dr. Venkatachalapathi, Professor, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In this manufacturing process, another important welding process is soldering and brazing. So these two terms are very important, and also this is very useful for in our fabrication secondary process. And coming to this soldering and brazing, so it is one of the most important fabrication process. Everywhere, if you see in electronic industry and some of the chips, PCB boards, and some other, typically even that mobile uh, cards and some LED, LCD TVs also. This all type of electronic devices made with this soldering process. Especially this soldering and brazing process. Before going to discuss about, as I have studied about this welding process, as you know that welding can be defined as it is the process of joining two similar or dissimilar metals by adding filler, without adding filler, by application of the heat, and without application of heat and pressure. So in this soldering and brazing, it is one of the most widely used secondary process, and most probably the soldering can be used all electronic application. Even any person, if you go and visit in a TV shop and mobile shop, they can able to join with the help of the lead and some of the lead iron. They can use this soldering process. Okay. Now let us see from this. I have represented two diagrams. The first diagram, we can call it as this is a soldering process. This is soldering, and the second figure shows that it is a brazing process. Brazing process. As I have discussed about the welding process, in these two is very important, while depending upon the temperature only, it can be differentiate. For example, the term soldering can be defined as it is the process of joining two similar or dissimilar metals with the temperature is below 427 degrees centigrade. It is less than 427 degrees centigrade. We can call it as a soldering process. Whereas heating the metal or joining the metal above 427, which is greater than 427 degrees centigrade, we will call it as a brazing process. This is soldering and this is brazing process. So now let us see, we will suppose to discuss simple points one by one, how we can perform the soldering process, and parallelly how we can able to join the brazing process. Again, the brazing can be subdivided into a number of types. That is, a different type of brazings also will be there. We will discuss in detail effectively. Okay. Now coming to this soldering process, by observing this diagram, you can see soldered iron rod, and there will be lead piece will be kept together, and here skilled labor also very important. There will be some talent to fill that exactly minute holes, that very micro level holes can be filled with the help of this soldered iron also. And here look at the first point where we can speak, only filler metal is melted, not base metal. This is very important. Okay. In a soldering process, only filler metal is melted, not the base metal. So in welding process, the base metals also can be melted, but here not such cases. Only the filler metal is melted. So that copper wire, lead wire, and melted, and you can put that lead into that wire. It can be joined easily. And here obviously the soldering can be used with the very less temperature. So especially the temperature that is what very less than 427 degrees centigrade. This can be used for soldering process. And here another important point is filler metal distributed by capillary action. So this is what another important term to be discussed here. Filler metal can be distributed. So for example, lead wire, we have to take a thin wire of lead. You can able to keep on. In this case, you can see there will be a series of soldered can be done in this plate. PCB, printed circuit board plate. This all can be made with the soldering process that distributed through the capillary action. So once I have to join, immediately can leave it. Then you can put the copper wire, lead wire, and you can join it again. That's what some capillary action will be taken place for the distribution of the filler metal. That principle is involved in doing this soldering process. And another important thing I would like to share, metallurgical bond is formed between the filler and base metal. So especially once you have to fix it, that wire definitely you can't retract the hand. To remove it is somewhat difficult. Some metallurgical bond very thick, it cannot, when you move it back, it may be problem in the plate or sheet only, that wire cannot come out. So very thick bond can be formed between the filler and base metal, and so that even some while seeing in FM radio, and they can zoom some aerial, so they're joining that wires also by using soldering process. Okay, especially all LED, LCD TVs, and traditionally the past 10 years before, we can use some IARE TVs, Sony, so many TVs are there. So where we can all in that cabin and all, they can perform this welding. There will be one circuit board and there will be drawing sheet available wherever the connection with respect to the channel or volume and power, everything, even that CRT tube. Okay, so that CRT tube also, that glow of the light may be problem by using this soldering can be performed better. Okay, and another important thing is strength of the joint. So while performing the soldering process, generally stronger than the filler metal itself. Once you have to join the soldering process, it is a more stronger than that filler you can use. The filler is a lead. Okay, that lead can be used while joining this with the help of the soldering process. The strength will be very strong. Even filler metal can able to fold and flexible can do it, but we can't retract that soldering iron metal. Okay, so that is why strength of the joint will be very stronger and weaker than the base metal. So base metal is the plate. So if you remove that, automatically plate will be strong, but this is very weaker. So that is why even when you touch that soldered iron also, it may be due to that less heat, less temperature, it may be removed easily. Okay, and we should maintain the gap at the joint is approximately 0.0012 to 0.010 inches. So that is very important. The gap should be very micro level, 0.001. So 1 by 1000. So this is 1 by 1000 times. So that will varies to 1 by 100. Okay, so that the gap should be maintained in this. Even suppose the gap will be more, means that lead wire cannot able to fix it properly. So that is why in the soldering process only the filler metal is melted, not the base metal, and very low temperatures can be used compared to the welding process, and the filler metal can be distributed by the capillary action. The series of the holes can be done with the help of the solder iron, and the strength automatically stronger than the filler metal and weaker than the base metal. This is very important. Okay, so that is why you can able to understand the soldering process, and for any process there will be some of the advantages and limitations. As far this soldering is concerned, the main advantage is it can join dissimilar metals also, not only similar metal, even some dissimilar metal also can be easily joined by soldering process. But in this process very less heat, so that the joining can be occur very thin sections related to welding means very long size, thicker sections also can be performed, because the base metal to be heat and electrode should be heat, then only you can able to have proper joining can be occur. But wherein it is a soldering means it is a very less temperature, we can easily a human being can able to perform effectively with the less temperature, and within fraction of time this joint can be made it. Okay. And another important thing is excessive heat during service can weaken the joint. Suppose if keep on, for example, if you see, you can keep the at a certain period of time the soldered iron will keep continuously, this will become some problem. So that will joint will become very weaker, that plate will may be broken, etc. So that is why we should maintain for soldering exactly less than 427 degrees only. You should not exceed. Similarly, where you can want to increase more than 420, you can call it as a brazing. There you can able to use, and the metals also a little bit more stronger than this soldered iron metals. So this is what about the soldering, and the basic difference is soldering can be defined as it is the process of joining to similar or dissimilar metals where the temperature is below 427 degrees centigrade, whereas in the brazing process the temperature is above 427 degrees centigrade. Again, the brazing can be divided into some different type of brazing process that we'll discuss in the next slides. Okay. Now let us see how we can able to explain in detail about the soldering process. So generally, as per the examination point of view, just we can able to draw one line diagram. So line diagram in the sense there will be one plate. So there will be one plate. So in the plate there is a series of holes will be there, and the wire can be come out from the bottom. With this wire you can able to put some soldered iron. So this is a solder rod. This with some plug. Even you can keep it with our 215 volts. Our AC voltage also can be occur. So once you can keep it, and there will be one filler is some lead wire. Lead wire you can take into the consideration, and based on that you can able to touch this lead and you can join it with a series of the holes on. So that is what the thickness will be, very minimum 1 by 1000 to the 1 by 100 inches of the holes can be easily done with the soldering process. That is what I have told already. The major application for soldering process is even PCB boards, PCB manufacturing, and some of the copper pipe joints, and what you call the typical non-lead bearings also can be easily made from this soldering process, and some jewelry manufacturing, either silver or gold or some of the ornaments we can easily made with this soldering process also. Okay, and here let us see, let us discuss what type of filler metal to be used, what is the flex, and what purpose you can able to use the flex, and thinning, that coating, pre-coating, how you can able to perform. All these three will be very effectively to be used. The quality of joint, the quality of terminals can be done effectively. So the first thing is solder. So solder in the sense where you can use that filler metal, that is a lead wire. So generally easy to solder copper, silver, gold metals. That filler metals is what you call alloys of the tin, that is silver, bismuth, lead. So these type of metals can be widely used and act as a filler material, and where the melting point is also very less than 840 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, melt point will be typically below the 840 degree Fahrenheit. So where the alloys of tin, that obviously silver, bismuth, lead can be widely used for as a solder in the filler material. And important thing, why we have to use the flex in the soldering process? The main, first you can use the flex in some semi liquid form. Okay, first with the help of the flex we can clean the joint, and any prevention of oxidation, some rust formation will be there, that can be eliminated effectively. So that the flex, it is in yellow in color, you can put that flex color in that hole, and even that lead wire also you can able to keep, so that the joint will be effective can be done. Okay. And another important thing, the separate or in core of wire, some rosin core can be used in as act as a flex also can be used. And thinning means it is a pre-coating. So pre-coating in the sense, before going to perform the soldering process, you can able to coat with the thin layer of the solder. So you can able to use so that the joint will be performed effectively. Let us see in the second diagram. So this is what resistors. So this is the resistors, how they can join with the help of this soldering process. So we can see in that small hole how they can able to use the lead in this backside, and you can up with exactly that correct point of the hole. You can put this the solder iron. This is a lead wire, and before going to do this, you can add some flex. It is a yellow in color to clean the joint. After cleaning that, you can use this both wire and electrode, so that you can easily done. This is the opposite side of that weld. So this is the opposite side. We can fix in the other side like resistors, capacitors, any type can be easily done with the help of the soldering process. Okay, I hope this can be understood clearly with the diagrammatic representation and some points which is mainly important for performing the soldering process. Especially the major applications for the soldering is PCB board. That is for printed circuit boards manufacturing. Now in all LED LCD TVs also, if any problem arises, there you can want to add this resistors, capacitors, and where you wanted to improve the channels, and also they can add these type of some electronic equipments with the help of the soldering. And also the pipe joints also, that the pipe means not very large type of pipe, very thin pipes, where you can use in some Titan, Timex watches also, some we can see non-ferrous metals used watches also can be introduced, that can also made with this soldering process. And obviously jewelry manufacturers nowadays, all the people required some quality machining to be performed, so that high quality, good quality, which will attract the ladies to have the jewelries. Jewelries means even a minute micro level holes and some complex shapes also can be easily done, because the cost of the gold will be very, very high. Yes or no? So now it, because of the even one fraction of less than 1 gram also, if you spoil means it is very costly. That is why even the people will mix gold with the copper, so in order to get the profit. So that's why in that ornament shops also 22 carat they had mentioned clearly there is no mixing. So if you are not mentioned that 22 carat and 24 carat means the percentage of the other materials like copper, and this can be added more. So that is why if one wanted to sell our gold ornaments also, they can see it is a 22 carat or 22 carat, then only that can be resellable effectively. If you are not that, so much copper mixing is there, after certain period of time what will happen, the color will be changed, some blackish color maybe come after usage of that gold also. Okay, so this is what about the soldering process. And finally, easy to solder this copper metal and silver metal and gold ornaments also, and difficult to solder for this aluminum, stainless steel. So that stainless steel, it is very difficult to solder, even it is a temperature is less, and even if you solder it within fraction of time, it can be get back, etc. So that's why can pre-plate difficult to the solder materials for the aid the process. Okay, so this is what about the soldering. And this is the plate where you can able to solder by using the solder iron lead wire. So top of the plate will become this resistors, how they will perform the joining in this opposite side. So this is what about the soldering process. Now coming to this, again some classification of the soldering techniques. Let us see how PTH in the sense pin through hole connectors. So even in these electronic applications also a lot of advanced technologies introduced nowadays. There also skilled labor can be used. The exact excess lead is there. How do you remove that excess lead? By trimming process. And similarly, manually, how we can able to PCB can be soldered. That is printed circuit board. So you should also take in care to be taken for exactly how much amount of lead to be taken, and with the time duration to joining that PCB board. So that is also very important. A new person, if a new person can wanted to perform, he can able to filler can be more utilized, but where in the case of that hole will be can put to more time means definitely it leads to be lot of wastage of the lead wire, and that again the hole can be larger, it may become enlarged will be darker. So that is why here also some skilled labor is very important by doing this electronic application, because of micro holes are there. Even that lead wire also how much amount we can able to clip, and sometimes flexes also to be used to have the quality joint. That is what how the heating the lead and placing the solder. So this is the one technique. So the lead, this is the soldering iron. After heating this, immediately when you touch it, some smoke will come. So that the temperature has been reached sufficiently, then you can perform. And after doing this joint, so once I have to join again, it may come to cool, because due to air evaporators, immediately it will be cool. So that is why whenever when you want to perform, just at the timer you can switch on, and once it get be heated, then you can perform effectively. So the first step is heating lead and placing the solder. How? The heating the lead with that solder iron only. And the second step is, you can see, heat for 2 to 3 seconds and place while opposite iron. So that this is what how they can able to put. Look at this. Okay, solder iron. This is a lead iron, and we should heat at least 2 to 3 seconds, so that all lead will be in this nozzle of that soldering iron. Just you can keep it, make a 1 second, then it can remove it. It will be fixed. Or still you can keeping on this lead where these also can be eliminated. It will become like a fluid form. It will not. So that is why this is the second is heat for 2 to 3 seconds and place the wire exactly opposite the iron, then join. And you can see in this third thing is trim excess lead. So soldering iron, solder wire. So here large amount of lead wire can be used. So this is a not the quality of the weld for the soldering, because exactly a less amount of lead wire to be used. So if, for example, if it is small hole is there, exact that amount of lead only can be used. Here you can see even it is small hole in throughout this lot of wastage of the lead can be occur. So that can be also trimmed. Again you can use the solder iron. By keeping this, it can be evaporated. Again it will become only the joining of that complete hollow shape that may be occur. Okay, so this is over lead occur in that point, and that also can be trimmed using that solder iron only. This is the pin through hole connectors. It is a somewhat a complicated process. Exactly, the holes are micro holes. Even when you touch the lead, it within 2 to 3 lot of lead can be taken place. When you keep it for more time, more than 1 second, the total lead can be filled in this nearby places also. So immediately when you remove it, it will be, while cooling, it will be strengthening. Okay, so you can see the by seeing the how distribution of the lead in some bulk in nature. So it is not a quality joint for the solder. So again we have to trim by using the solder iron for trimming the each component effectively. Okay, so this is a simple basic step. Even not only no need for an engineering graduates, even a layman can understand clearly how do you perform the PCB soldering. And if you get experienced a couple of days, you will be expertise how much amount of lead to be used, how much temperature to heat this solder iron, and how the wire should be, where you can kept exactly with micro holes, how much time you can keep the joint that wire. So that all fraction of seconds time only. So there by doing number of holes, then only can able to expertise. So this is the basic 3 steps for the PTH, pin through hole connectors, can be done in the PCB soldering process. Okay, I hope the students can understand clearly. Even in the examination point of view, they may ask only what is the difference between soldering and brazing. For sometimes they may ask for short notes, sometimes 2 marks questions, sometimes if they will ask 10 marks question, explain in detail about the soldering process, you need to explain all those things. So that is what is soldering and how the filler metal flux and thinning can be done, what are the applications, what are the advantages and limitations. Then you can able to explain the types of soldering process like PCB and some wires and some thin wires and some pipes can be done effectively in this PCB solder. Now let us see another important thing is PCB reflow soldering. So I hope from this diagram itself you can understand clearly how the PCB board can be pasted on the printed circuit board. You can see how zigzag in this board. So that is what it is automated reflow soldering process. So wherever that paste you can call it as a flex mixture can be applied to the PCB board using screen print or similar transfer mold. So before going to perform the soldering process, first you keep the flex material, some in a yellow color material can be placed on the holes also. So once it has been applied, then you can, with the help of the solder iron, you can keep wherever required, the joint can be performed effectively. So this is what about important about the soldering iron. And coming to this solder paste, which will be serves as some following functions. Why you have to apply the before in this plate, that PCB board, because to supply solder material to the soldering spot, exactly to know the spot. So for example, series of holes are there. If you are not provide this yellow thin material, that paste or flex material, it is difficult to join together effectively and to hold the components in place prior to soldering. For example, lead wire it is a thin wire. When you wanted to keep that wire, if you have that paste means easily they can keep in between that paste. Then by applying the solder holder, definitely can able to perform better. Yes or no? So that is why you can able to do this thing. Okay, you can hold the components in place prior to the soldering, and also clean the solder lines and component lids. So for example, first before going to apply this flex also, first you can clean. So clean with the help of the solder iron only. You should clean clearly so that this will come like a transparent. Then again you can use the some hole and you can keep the wire here and you can put to solder iron with this plug. Okay, so that to clean the solder lands and component lets also effectively the help of the soldering iron, and to prevent further oxidation for the solder land, there is a gap between the one hole to other hole. Even if you use one side, due to, if you are not using in same day, it will become some rust and oxidation from some any air particles will occur. It will become some nasty, some dust formation. So to remove that also, you can able to use this solder paste as a flex, so that to get a high quality joint for the soldering. Okay, and especially while performing PCB boards and assembly, and heated to reflow over the melt solder to secure the connection effectively. So main important thing is, so even for joining one hole or one copper wire joining, you can easily perform. If it is a series of holes, series of capacitors, series of resistance, it is a one of some creative thinking and some expertise is required for the supervisor. Suppose the person who are performing the soldering, we should be some experienced person or skilled person is there, then he can able to avoid some wastages and some damages of the sheet, damages of that lead wire and all. Okay, if he is a skilled, simply whatever the big size of the plate also can be easily made by this reflow soldering process, automated reflow. So once you have to, first you can clean all the holes, then you can apply the paste or a flex during that. Then you can take that wire, you can keep that wire, immediately join. So like that point, we can join here, you can join here, you can join here, like that. Just one drop of lead is sufficient to join that wire to that hole. Yes or no? So we can't see that hole. Sometimes the people just touch means some gap, hole also gap may be. That is not a quality soldering iron. Okay, you can fill the completely this hole. So then only that wire should be kept tightened, that wire, so that it will be application point of view, it have good access and good requirement will be obtained. So that is why the solder paste serves as the majorly the four important function. It supplies the solder material to the soldering spot, and at the same time to hold the components in place prior to the soldering. So if you are not providing the flex, where you have to hold that lead piece. And also you can clean the solder lands and compound leads, where you can wanted to solder means that also can be cleaned effectively by putting this paste or flex, and also to prevent the further oxidation. So if you keep the flex, and if you tomorrow if you perform soldering means due to some rust formation, oxidation will be occur. Again you have to clean with the help of the solder, then you can perform the soldering process. Okay, so this is what about the automated reflow soldering process for the series of micro holes in a printed circuit boards. Okay, so this is the one good application for the surface mount technology can be used in this reflow soldering process. That is what about soldering. Now let us discuss about the brazing. So just the basic difference between a soldering and brazing is only the temperature. Soldering means it can be heat or join the filler metal below 427 degrees centigrade, where in the case of brazing means the term brazing can be defined as it is the process of joining to similar or dissimilar metal and above the temperature is 427 degree, which is the greater than 427 degrees centigrade. Obviously, you can call it as a brazing process. Look at, there are two different diagrams I have displayed here. As per the, here the references, the photo can be collected for handbook of this Harshan and typical pipe, the pipe or tube application. And this diagram, it is a typical brazing filler metal problems. This photo is collected by Handy Hammond textbook. Okay, in that book I have collected and can paste it so that easy understanding of the brazing process. Yes or no? So we can see the in the first diagram how all the red hotted in condition. Obviously the temperature is a little bit high. Before performing the joint, it can do for some heating until to get red flame and all. So then you can apply the filler metals where aluminum, magnesium, copper alloys. Typically it is above the 840 degree Fahrenheit. That all alloy metals also can be heated above 840 degree Fahrenheit, so that it will be in a liquid form. that we can join together by giving some solidification or cooling time, so that it can be easily joined together of the thin plates. Okay, so let us see the basic definition of brazing process. The term brazing, use of low melting point filler metal to fill thin gap between the mating surfaces. So this is what, there will be some small gap will be there, that mating surfaces to be joined utilizing the capillary action. That is why. So step by step we can do it capillary, up and down, up and down. Some capillary action can be taken into the consideration. And here another important term is filler metals are most widely used in brazing is aluminum, magnesium, copper alloys. All are non-ferrous metals where the melting point is obviously greater than the 440 degree Fahrenheit. And here also the flex to be used. So to quality joint. Okay, and here another important thing is which I have explained earlier, types of brazing. So there are three types of brazings according to the usage and application point of view. The first one is torch brazing, second one is furnace brazing, third one is resistance brazing. These are the three different types of brazings where you can use the heating method. Okay, so most probably soldering can be used only for the electronic and electrical applications only, where in the case of brazing means automobile applications, the joining tubes and cabins, etc. And obviously the brazing also can be suitable for the pipe and tubing joint, that is called HVAC, high voltage automated casing can be done this pipe and tubing joint. And the electrical equipment also for joining the wires also can use this brazing point. Okay, and this process can be joined, can possess significance compared to the brazing, soldering, brazing having a good strength, high quality. So where the sufficient strength can be achieved the brazing rather than the soldering process. So from the second diagram you can see the what are the various filler metals can be used for the brazing. So anyway, here the temperature is above 427 degrees centigrade. Obviously you can able to heat to the required temperature. Then by applying the filler metals like aluminum, magnesium, copper alloys, which obviously more than the melting temperatures like 840 degrees centigrade above. And here also jewelry making, also some chains, long chains, and some advanced complex shaped design chains also can be done in this brazing process. Even you can see any jewelry shop, Lalita jewelry or Jain jewelers, any jewelry shop we go, and you can see inside workshop all they have that solder iron and brazed iron will be kept together. Whenever the modification, sometimes small thin holes to be joined, so like these pieces. Okay, where that small amount of micro level also can be made with the help of this brazing technique. Okay, I hope this is what about the brazing. The only difference from the soldering is there it is only less than 420, here greater than 420, and melting temperature also above 840 degree Fahrenheit. Look at another type of this carbide cutting tools. Mainly the metals are brazing furnaces. So these also some Hamdi Haman textbook I have collected. So these are the some important cutting tools can be joined with the help of the brazing tool. So here also the same thing, that is low melt point fillers can be used to fill the thin gap between the mating surfaces to be a joint utility of capillary action. And here also the filler metals can be used, aluminum, magnesium, and copper alloys. Okay, the flex also obviously can be used, and some of the torch, furnace, and resistance type of brazings also can be used in this type of welding process. Okay, so obviously electrical equipment and wires also can be widely used in this process. Even jewelry making also, these also more suitable. Some simple jewelry techniques can be joined with the soldering, and some complex long chains and master chains and all can be made with this brazing process. Okay, this is what about main classification of brazing, that is torch brazing, furnace brazing, resistant brazing. Torch brazing is nothing but a holder like a torch you can join together. Furnace means for heating the metal by using the furnace can be used. Resistance means H is equal to heat generator is equal to I square RT, with that current, resistance and time duration principle will be applicable in the resistance brazing process. Okay, so this is what about the soldering and brazing. So this completes the concept oriented uh, knowledge of the soldering and brazing. Okay, you can refer any other textbook like P and Rao and Hajarat Chaudhary and Raghumsi for further more details for the this application and some principal point of soldering and brazing. Okay, thank you for this lecture.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.